The city attorney explained to all present the cone of silence. This is a very critical issue to me. And I find this one particularly offensive, particularly since I've been in the city longer than anybody on the city commission, including the mayor. And again, thank you for coming, Mayor. The city attorney explained to all present the cone of silence, which is all clearly stated in the RFP. She also explained who and who could not be at the meeting. Only the committee, this comes right from the CV, only the committee, the proposer, and the city team, which I assume includes you guys. It was not a public meeting, yet two people, and Ron, forgive me, Ron Nelson, let me go back to where I'm not here, the chief of staff of Commissioner Sardoff, and the head of off-street parking remained. They listened to the entire discussion with both proposers. Well, I looked up on, how do you say that, Wikipedia? I can never say that word right. What the definition of a discussion is. And discussion doesn't, you don't have to talk. It just talks about consideration of a subject by a group, an earnest conversation, a formal discourse on a topic, and an exposition. And Ron took notes, because I saw him. So, to me, that violated the cone of silence. At the break between the two presentations, I personally went up to Ron and asked him why he was there. He said because he is Commissioner Sarnoff's chief of staff. Again, in my opinion, a clear violation of the cone of silence. On Thursday, June 20th, which I have a copy of here if everybody would like to see, I'm sure everybody read the same article in the Miami Herald. The manager Martinez and Henry Torrey are quoted as saying they can't comment because of the cone of silence. However, Commissioner Sarnoff had no problem talking about it through a public medium, a clear violation, in my opinion, of the cone of silence as explained by the city attorney. So now I want to read to you an email, give me a minute, from the city attorney, Veronica, to all the people in the committee, dated June 6th. Here's the Herald article, by the way. So this is an email from Veronica to Johnny Martinez, Alice Bravo. That's all I see here. Subject, consequences and penalties, Ray, Florida Sunshine Law, and cone of silence violation. It says, good evening. This is at 9:38 p.m. on June 6th. It says, good evening, selection committee members. Please note that pursuant to section 286-001- Florida statutes, all meetings of the selection committee must be held in the sunshine. There can be no private discussions or deliberations outside the publicly noticed meetings. A violation of the open meeting laws is a criminal violation and may subject you to financial penalties. In addition, pursuant to City Code Section 18-74, the Code of Silence is in effect for this selection committee until the conclusion of your deliberations and the manager's approval of your recommendation. Well, Commissioner Sarnoff's quote in the paper, okay, which I found disingenuous, comes way before the approval of the recommendation. As a matter of fact, he was even suggesting that the city do it because, in his opinion, it's the right thing to do. The cone of silence prohibits you from speaking with the mayor and the staff, the commissioners and the staff, the city manager and the staff, and of course each other. The cone of silence only allows conversations with the city attorney and her staff. Along those same lines, it is vital that you remember that you must not have biases towards any of the proposers or the team members. As a selection committee member, you must evaluate the proposals and deem one to be more favorable to the city and the city alone, not any individual interest. Well, I thought about that. And I have been around the city a long time. Quite possible I'm wrong. Won't be the first, hopefully it won't be the last time. I don't remember seeing any of this language. My personal opinion, and the answer is not necessary, this is a response from a complaint by one of the proposers, okay? And that's one of the reasons I want to listen to the tape, because no disrespect intended to anybody else on the committee, okay? But I was the only one that asked these same questions, and now I'm just asking more. So I find that at 74 years old, I find that disingenuous and offensive, quite frankly, okay? I will, if it's necessary in the future, I will go back and I can document how I personally put over $100 million. Forget about Monty's. I'm talking about with the Miami Heat Arena. I'm talking about with the Orange Bowl parking garage. I'm talking about with the Bayfront Park Trust. I'm talking about with Dinner at Key Marina. I have personally been responsible for putting over $100 million in the city of Miami's bank account. So that's why I personally find this offensive, because whether you agree or disagree with me, like or dislike what I'm saying, I'm just trying to do what I'm supposed to do on this committee. So let me collect my thoughts here. I'm almost done, believe it or not. Okay. At 1 hour and 23 minutes and 9 seconds into the second presentation, the head of the Off-Street Parking Authority made some of the following comments. Actually, he gave me a compliment, but that's not an issue. And Art, you know I like you. I consider you my friend, but I have to say it. That the RFP is all conceptual, and this is right from the tape. As far as the parking requirements, and Off-Street Parking Authority will properly size the garage based upon their projection of usage, and the garage has to work financially. All makes sense. I guess that means that the parking requirements in the RFP were only an exercise with no meaning. The RFP says 8 spaces for every 1,000 gross square feet of restaurant spaces, 5 spaces for every 100 boats, 4 spaces for every 1,000 square feet of retail, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's like me hiring an architect, having him design, draw up a set of plans, going down to the window at the city, however that works, I've only done it once in my life, and saying, okay, here, I'm a good boy, I follow the city code, et cetera, et cetera. And the guy at the window, or the lady at the window is saying, well, don't worry about it, Steve. Doesn't make any difference what the city code says. Doesn't make any difference what the RFP says. We'll design a garage for you based upon what we think the usage is. That's exactly what was said at that meeting, okay? I'm not so sure whether Art, I don't know whether Art is a member of the administration or not, whether I know he's an independent authority. I'm not so sure. I don't think Art did anything wrong in his mind. He just spoke what he felt. I disagree with it, and I think it violates the RFP. I also think there's a possibility that he shouldn't have said that. Listen, one thing. Saying that is something else. At the end of your presentation, the question was asked by Henry, if this committee wanted to, if the city wanted to, would you guys increase the size of the garage and therefore pay the extra $200,000? I think I brought that up. But that's what Henry said. And the city attorney, Veronica, said that they couldn't do that because it would be a supplement to the RFP. So therefore, either the city accepts the 40,000 square foot garage, okay, which based upon all these calculations has no relationship to what is needed by the RFP, and I'm going to say it again, it's not what the RFP says. So, on page 14 of the RFP, it says that the proposer must conform in all material respects to the RFP. So here it says right here, a non-responsive or non-responsible proposal which does not conform in all material respects to the RFP. Well, I don't see how this performs in all material respects to the RFP. Page 23 says that definitions, deficient proposals, and RFP modifications. Submissions deficient in providing the required information shall be deemed non-responsive and disqualified and shall be ineligible for further consideration. Page 14 further says that the selection committee has the authority to recommend one or more or none of the proposals as it deems to be in the best interest of the city. Written justification of his findings shall accompany the selection committee's recommendation. And on and on and on and on and on. So, I'm almost done. Let me get my second page back here. I asked Veronica a question, and she gave me the answer, thank you. But how many people bid on, not the exact same, but on Scotty's last time and on the chart house? So last time you had 5 groups that bid on Scotty's. Grove Marina Ventures, AAA Marine, which I believe was UJ, Landry's, one, and Grove Waterfront LLC. And you had 1 on the chart house. This time, in effect, we only had 1 proposal, because there's not 2 groups sitting here. We had 1 proposal. And it just seems to me that somehow we, and speaking on behalf of the city, which I'm a big believer in, that we have been doing something wrong, that we're not doing our job right. This is serious stuff for serious people. I know a lot of developers that people think are billionaires, but they can't write you out a check for $7 million because developers turn their money. Their money's got to work money, and they leverage it. So I think one of the mistakes that we made is the $7 million. I think another mistake that we may have made, I don't know how much money the city spent advertising. I assume it was many thousands of dollars. I don't know where it advertised. I don't know what the advertisement said, but something is wrong. And I'm going to make this up. If I were in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and I read this thing about this terrific, and I know the city of Miami is the sexiest city in the world, the Miami Heat, the 2-time champions, etc. And we are. This is the sexiest city in the world. We have a building boom going on right now. So I pick up the phone and I call somebody, and I have my lawyer call a friend of his who's a lawyer in Miami, and they say, listen, there's this piece of property in Coconut Grove. What's it all about? Oh, it's a terrific piece of property, the greatest view in the Grove, blah, 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 blah. Okay, a slam dunk winner. Well, I'm thinking about bidding it. Well, don't do it. Why? Because, here's proof positive. Only 1 person bid it. Because I think the city sends the wrong message of how it does business. And our history is replete with problems. Whether it's Parajungle, whether it's Flagstone, whatever it is. Just one time, you know, before I'm gone, I would love to see the city doing something right. Let the administration do its job. Keep the politicians' hands out of it. When someone becomes a commissioner, they think they're an architect, a developer, an engineer, a financier, etc. Well, they're not. They are legislators. They are not managers. We have, our system of government is no different than the federal government. We have the judicial branch, we have the executive branch, and we have the legislative branch. Well, the legislative branch, who I believe should have nothing to do with this, because that's what the Code of Silence says, they make laws. That's what they do. They don't manage the city. So I, for one, you already know the way I feel. Okay, I'm sorry to say this, and then I'm done. I think this thing is another election in August. I think this thing should go out to bid. I think the RFP is terrific. I'm sorry for the confusion. Perhaps the city has to be a little bit more clear, although I read the same English that everybody else does. Okay, I think the city has to be a little bit clearer about what it wants. I advise the city to put this out to bid again, reduce the $7 million to $1 million, attract the whole world. Maybe people can come up with some ideas that we don't know about and then teach us something. But this is flat out wrong, and with all due respect, it's a beautiful plan. It really is, okay? I just don't think it complies. So I've said what I had to say, and you already know what I think, and I can't vote on this. I can't even score on it. I just don't think it should happen in the conversation.
Thank you for your comments.
Thanks
Steve.
for listening.
I'll go ahead and talk first. Prior to getting to my presentation, I will say that I disagree with you on so many levels, and I will touch on just a couple of your points. Where you state, for example, that nowhere in the RFP does it say that you cannot unify with the Grove Harbor. Nowhere in the RFP does it says that you cannot. I personally think it's a fantastic plan. I understand that in 27 years that'll have to change, but they have provided a backup plan for that, another plan that will incorporate the loading on their site. In addition, I spoke to, I looked at the issue with the navigational hazards of launching from Grove Harbor. I do not find it to be an issue. It may be a little more crowded, but again, people travel in and out of there at idle speed, so I do not think it's going to be a navigational hazard. Let me see what else here. As far as the fueling station, your comment about the gas and the diesel, where it says fueling station, it does not differentiate that you must have gas and diesel, so they're not in violation for that either. As far as the RFP in regards to this parking garage, there's several areas throughout the RFP, including page 16, the MPA may, in its sole discretion, elect to build additional parking spaces beyond what is required for the successful proposals project and existing city and MPA parking obligations. So again, it is clear in several areas of the RFP that the final say-so for the design of the garage and the number of spaces will fall through the MPA. As far as your comment that the City of Miami, I'm assuming you're saying that the City of Miami was too aggressive in requiring the $7 million, we should have gone to $1 million. One of the things that I've heard a lot of in the year and a half that I've been here with the city is how the city has given away properties. I think this was a very solid deal, a very well thought out RFP, which you yourself have said is terrific. I think we're getting maximum revenue to the City of Miami. And I think that's what's very, most important. We wanted to weed out, by making that $7 million requirement, we wanted to weed out a lot of people who in my opinion, did not have the financial capability possibly of seeing this project through. As far as my comments on the RFP, I was an integral part of writing this RFP, and this proposal that they have submitted was exactly my vision of what I wanted to see here. Several different components. When you consider that the City of Miami took a little bit of a risk by not allowing on-site parking and requiring them to shift all their parking requirements into the parking garage. My hope was that they were whoever proposed on this was going to take advantage and build either additional retail and hopefully a restaurant concept. I was very pleased that they did decide to build 2 formal restaurants and the 1 casual. The plan is fantastic. I think the automobile circulation is great. I think that, the only issue there we may have to, there's a couple of areas where there's pedestrian walks where I think it's a simple resolution of installing a stop sign or something like that. I like the valet drop locations. I like the layout. I think it provides those areas where the green area is, which is just south of the hangar, is fantastic. I like the green area, open space between the restaurants as well. Some other comments I may have before I get into the financial aspects. I really do appreciate their involvement in giving back to the community, their pledge to give $30,000 on an annual basis to the Black Hospitality Initiative, on-site mentoring program. 60% of the initial workforce will be City of Miami residents. I think that's a very big positive. What I do think, I think that some of their assumptions were a little aggressive, specifically on the hangar 42, where they were projecting in year 3, which in my opinion is a stable year for a restaurant. They were projecting $1,666 a square foot, which I think is high. So if I adjusted that down to what I think realistic numbers would be, which is maybe, $850 to $900 a square foot, it does lower your projections a couple $100,000 to the city. But again, that doesn't affect the minimum guaranteed rent. But overall, I think it's a plan that really does it's close to the waterfront plan that I thought we would be able to see. Again, I think that this is a fantastic opportunity. This is exactly what I envisioned and what I hoped for. It's not overbuilt as far as the retail goes. I won't mention did I mention the bidder? The other bidder, in my opinion, was overbuilding the retail component. Here, I think I really like the concept of the 2,700 square feet for the convenience store. I like the idea that somebody can go have a nice dinner at Oceano or at Shula's, and then on their way out, walk by and listen to some live entertainment and have some music, and listen to music and have a drink at the Hangar 42. I just think it is such an exciting development for the city of Miami, for the residents of Coconut Grove. This was by far my favorite bid out of the two. I think we would be making a big mistake in rewriting this RFP. We stand behind the RFP. The administrative review was completed by my department, which, by the way, I was not a part of since I'm on the selection committee, Steve, and everything met compliance. So again, I'm going to stress that I think this is exactly what we need, exactly what we were hoping for. We have the component of the transient parking, where people can come and get dockside service, take food away or to dine afloat. We are transforming Coconut Grove by this project. I support it 150%, and I would hope that the rest of these members agree with me.
Let me make one correction, take 10 seconds. The RFP says that the Off-Street Parking Authority can build additional spaces over and above what is required by the ratios in the RFP. So the first thing they have to do is honor the ratios, which my ratios are correct. And at the end of the day, if this project goes through, that's what the ratio is going to be, because I'm going to do everything in my power as a citizen to make sure that they follow the ratios. So that was a misnomer what you said.
Okay.
It's over and above the required spaces.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's it. Otherwise, everything is your opinion.
Okay. Again, and as the department director and in my experience in many years in asset management and being involved as a director of operations for a real estate corporation, and I apologize, I just want to give a little bit more of my background. I was director of operations for a multi-billion-dollar real estate company, and this is a fantastic project. The component of having a quality, well-known restaurant as Shula's, I think is key. I've been to several other different restaurants, and it's always been a fantastic experience. I'm excited with the Oceano restaurant. I think it has. I looked at the menu, and it's very exciting. I know it will change. Again, for the last time, this is exactly what I envisioned when we were writing this, and I propose that we go forward. I kept it short and sweet.
Shorter than me, anyway.
Go ahead.
This is a fantastic piece of property in Coconut Grove, and I think this is a great proposal. It's encompassed the retail area, the marina development, the 2 formal restaurants, and the informal restaurant. I like the idea of dockage for the transient boaters, because you will get those boaters that will come by boat and want to have a meal, walk around. They'll go to the retail spaces, So that's a great idea. Lots of green space. I like the idea of Banyan Tree Park and all the public access. So I'm in favor of this project.
I compliment you on your project. Certainly, as I looked at it, as it pertained to the restaurant sites, I think that they are substantial. I'm not sure about the 3 concepts at the site. I think that, if I remember correctly in your proposal, I think that it's a tremendous site for catering, and a site that would draw people for events, and there's a tremendous void for that in the city. The other parts of the project I think are great. I do like the Banyan Tree Park. I think it's a wonderful gathering place for the city, Coconut Grove. I definitely think it complements. Obviously, I'm not as privy to all of the details with the RFP as Steve may have read it through. I think at this point, listening to Henry, I think it's time that the city vote on this and get something going.
Okay, as far as from a procedural standpoint, Ken,
Okay. The committee may fill out your evaluation forms as to scores for each of the 5 sections, and we will tabulate the result.
Do I have to fill it out?
Are you recusing yourself?
I can put zeros in it.
we still have a quorum. He doesn't have to vote if he doesn't want, right?
No, I'm sorry. Mr. Speaker, if you could please, even if you wish to vote 0, we do need your vote.
Okay.
To tabulate it. When you do score your vote, look at each category, and if you believe that they in each category deserve a 0, then that is your vote.
Where is it? That's this piece of paper?
Correct.
Just
So,
this one piece of paper?
right, so on this piece of paper, as Ken explained at the beginning, you have the categories, overall project design,
I got
proposed
it.
team, and within that, you have brackets of the points which you can place.
Right, so just, so
There's
the
no
other,
place for zeros.
the other members here, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, they can, out of the 25, they can score up to 25, or you can use this as a reference.
Correct.
Henry, say that again, I'm sorry?
I'll go over there's a table matrix at the bottom of your
Right.
scoring sheet that lists each of the criteria maximum scoring points and how those are broken down at the 90th percentile, 80th percentile, 70th percentile, and below.
Sorry, the package also has a piece of paper that indicates the location affidavits within the city of Miami, companies within the bidder were located in the city of Miami for the purposes of the local participation score.
But we're only circling the sheet. Yes?
Correct, that's the evaluation scoring sheet.